Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our 4th episode of our podcast, Overtime Takes, bringing you some Week 13 content this week. And let's get right into it. Chase, what do you got for us?
We got a veteran signing in the league, JPP to the Miami Dolphins. Did this surprise anybody?
That surprised me. I didn't even know he wanted a job.
I didn't even know he was still in the league.
Yeah.
Well, whose practice squad was he on?
Saints
practice squad?
I think so.
I mean, us signing him, I don't think he's going to get a ton of playing time. I think when Phillips was out before, he's been out for numerous games already this season with random-ass injuries.
Yeah.
Like, Van Ginkel has stepped in, and he recorded, I think, a pair of sacks, and he had a pass defended. Like, he was doing great. And then, like, I think he's just a guy that you need depth, and he's just a veteran locker room guy, all fingers or not.
Yeah. Does he still play with the club on his
No. He has, like, the lobster claw now.
Okay. Yeah. I know he's been progressing in that department. But I do think that his role will develop, like, as the weeks go on. Like, he could potentially be...
Yeah, because Phillips is out for the year, too.
I could see him being, like...
He'll play in the playoffs.
Like, in the playoffs, like, I could see him, like, getting a sack and there being, like, a big storyline about it.
I'd cry if he went up to, like, defend a pass and it was, like, right where his other two fingers should be. Yeah. And it's just like, come on, man.
Yeah. Anthony?
My news, probably the news of the weekend, is Frank Reich being fired by the Panthers.
Well, premature.
I don't really know if it was like surprising, but you trade for the number 1 pick, and you're all in on the guy, and he doesn't do well to the start.
Yeah.
And you're 1-10, then you just fire the coach.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, a change needs to be made, but
that's the first head coach in history to be fired back-to-back seasons.
Oh my God, he got fired in January, hired in March or February, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And fired in November. He's fired twice in 11 months. It's horrible.
It also makes it interesting with, like, Bryce Young being a rookie QB. Like, he's part of the decision on how he, like, on why they picked him over Stroud, why they traded up to the first pick, not the second pick. So when you get rid of the coach that probably wanted Bryce Young to be the QB, you're going to bring in somebody who might not like that decision, and it could create, like, some problems in the locker room.
Yeah, I think just like Bryce Young, he's obviously struggling in his first year. It makes you look at, like, the system college quarterbacks are in. Like, Mac Jones and Bryce Young. Bryce Young didn't win a national championship, did he? He won the Heisman, though.
Yeah, he did win the Heisman.
So, like, these are two quarterbacks that look great in college, but they're in one of the greatest systems. And then they go to the Panthers, who traded up for the first pick, had one of the worst teams in the NFL. They're going into a horrible situation. It's like, what can they really do?
First round pick next year, trade away DJ Moore.
Yeah.
And a cool stat I saw, Frank Reich is being paid $25,000 a day for the next 3 years.
Good for him.
To not do anything. That's the job I want.
Yeah.
I want to be a crappy NFL head coach. That's the job I want.
He'll get a coordinator job somewhere, or Philly will hire him because of his connections with Sirianni.
What's his? He's an offensive guy.
Yeah. He'll be the Steelers' offensive coordinator next year, guaranteed.
And he'll get fired that year, too.
Anything's better than that other man. But for my news, Deron Bland. He's been the talk of the town lately. Well, not our town, but he's been the talk of the NFL world, breaking a record, pick sixes. He has 5 now this season, and just on Thanksgiving he broke that record. And me and Anthony, we always look at the Defensive Player of the Year odds, and he was 4th at plus 1,000. And I don't think he should be considered for the Defensive Player of the Year award this year. People don't know this because a lot of stats get pick and choose every game. Obviously, he had that pick 6, but he allowed over 100 yards against Washington, who's just a very poor team. And I think, you and I were talking about this, like, how many more pick 6s do we think he would need to really be considered for the award? I think between 3 and 5 more, which is practically impossible. And
you see what he's done. Like, not only did he break the record, like, if it was the end of the year, he played crappy all throughout the year, and he broke the record with 5. He broke it in week 12.
Yes, he's been playing phenomenal, but when you look at it's hard for corners to win that award, but when you look at the ones that have, like Stephon Gilmore's season, where the Patriots, if their offense didn't go on the field, they would have had like a 500 record, like Charles Woodson and guys who are just you don't even throw their direction. Like, people are throwing his direction all the time.
Yeah, maybe that's
clearly,
part of the reason
I mean,
for
he
the
had
pick
4
sixes.
pick sixes, and at the end of the game, clearly Sam Howell wasn't afraid to throw his way on an out route, his specialty.
Yeah.
He really, honestly, it might not, it doesn't really matter how many more pick sixes this guy gets. I love him, but he should not be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation with guys like Watt and Garrett and Micah Parsons, who just make such a greater impact.
Top 3, yeah.
Such a greater impact. And then Chase for the game of the week, Seattle.
Yeah, staying in Dallas, we're going Dallas, Seattle. It's a primetime game. A lot of primetime games have been
tomorrow night,
disappointing, to say the least.
Horrible.
They've almost been all hitting the unders score-wise. It's just...
I think it's 20-3 or something like
that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not been a good year for primetime football, but then you're going to the Cowboys, who are on the way to break a generational home game win streak record. And they're leading the league in 41 points per game at home, which is ridiculous.
Unreal.
Just in and of itself. And then you're going against Seattle, who's close to, I think they're ranked number 18, just scoring 20 per game. But then on the road, it drops to 18.6.
I'd love to score 20.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see, they're scoring 41 points a game at home. Dak is hot right now.
He's on
Dak
fire.
is hot.
Yeah.
Talked about this a lot. I think he's front runner for the MVP right now. He could slow down a little bit, but even if he does, I don't see, Seattle has not been playing great football. Kenneth Walker's out, sadly.
Yeah, it looks like, is he officially out, or it's just looking like he's not going to play?
I go by projected points in fantasy. He's projected 0.
Yeah, so he's out.
So he's doubtful, I'd say.
Yeah,
Yes.
and just aside from Dak Prescott, this team looks like it's firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any way.
And Pollard's finally getting going too, so
yeah,
just adds another piece to the puzzle.
Yeah, Geno would need to play insane, I think, for this to be a contest.
Yeah, and as I said 2 weeks ago, another primetime game for Dak. Everyone, just get your favorite snack and enjoy the show. Just enjoy the show. So my favorite, second favorite game of this week, I've got 49ers traveling to Philly, and they're the favorites. Away in Philadelphia, they're the favorites. I was so surprised, Philly being the home underdog. I think that could possibly motivate them. We know how amazing, when healthy, both of these teams have been. This will obviously have huge NFC playoff implications.
Oh, yeah.
But the one thing that, we can't ignore, the Niners, in my eyes, are undefeated when they are undefeated when they've got their guys. Trent Williams and Debo, arguably their 2 most impactful players on their entire roster. When they're healthy,
you see Debo right there, massive catch.
When they're healthy, they're undefeated. And not only are they undefeated, but the last 2 games, or the last 2 out of the last 3 games that they were healthy, they blew out the Cowboys and they blew out the Jacksonville Jaguars, 2 of the top teams in the NFL, and they just dismantled the Seattle for practically the entire game, aside from Brock Purdy's pick 6, which tipped off somebody's hands. But the Eagles have been stringing together wins late in games. Anthony, please fix your mic.
I'm trying, man.
And in my opinion, sadly, I've been going against the Eagles. I've been going against the Eagles in a lot of predictions, and it hasn't really worked out. So today I'm going to actually take the underdogs, and I think the Eagles are going to edge this game out in a great low-scoring game. I have it 23-20, and I think Hurts is going to have another mediocre game, string together a late touchdown, a field goal drive to get it together and win it. And I just think that the Eagles are just going to barely win this game.
Yeah, they have been barely winning a lot this year, but I think it's been a talk throughout the year. Obviously, Hurts is, I don't want to say, he's been playing bad for Hurts standards, and we have these 2 guys coming into the game, Hurts and Purdy, who people have talked about their team carries them. These are, I think, 2 of the most complete teams that we have for a while. Their teams are just stacked on both sides of the ball, and I think it will come down to a quarterback showcase. They've got the guys around him. Can Purdy put up a perfect passer rating in?
Yeah.
Probably not, but
I think in the fourth quarter it will be close, and it's just going to come down to which quarterback can really take over and control that last drive of the game. We've seen Hurts do time and time again.
It'll probably be Hurts, but
yeah, probably.
All right, let's see. Is this thing working? Okay. All right, we apologize for that, and hopefully we don't get much more. Before I go to my game, real quick, Niners are motivated because they didn't have a chance last time they played in the NFC Championship game. They didn't have a quarterback.
Yes.
It was unfair.
CMC
I think they
was
would have won.
warming up on
I think
the
they would have
sideline.
won. It was BS, whatever. But I don't get why Philly's home underdogs.
That's ridiculous.
They've been great all year. Home, if they were in San Francisco, I think the line's perfect at -2.5 for San Francisco. I don't get how Philly's not favored.
I mean, to be fair, like you said, when San Fran has their guys, they're destroying these teams.
Yes.
And Philly, it almost seems like I say about Patrick Mahomes, like they've been sinking to the level of their competition.
Mm-hmm.
Like they play Buffalo. Were they even at the game for the first half? Did they
Hurts
bother
certainly
showing
wasn't
up?
with his 50 passing yards. And yeah, I was just about to say the same exact thing. You cannot have the first halves, the beginning of the games, like they've been having against the team like a 49ers.
Yeah.
You can do it against the Bills when you know Josh Allen will probably give you a turnover, which he did.
Mm-hmm. And you know if it goes in overtime, he's losing.
Yeah, well, yeah.
No matter the rules.
And they were able to do it against Mahomes when Hurts had another poor day, but Mahomes threw a pick in the end zone. Travis Kelce fumbled in the red zone. So, but this does not happen against Deebo Samuel. Does not fumble. George Kittle does not fumble. CMC does not fumble. Brock Purdy does not throw interceptions. They've got to have a complete game, but Philly will be ready, and that's why I think they are going to win this game.
Yeah. All right, let's try to do this with no mic problems. All right. So my game is Chiefs at Packers on Sunday night.
Another prime time.
A lot of people think this game may be a blowout, but I don't think so.
No
I
way.
really like Green Bay. You see here, Jordan Love, first play of the game. That was first play of the game.
He was on my bench.
50-yard pass. Game's in Green Bay, and this throw right here, oh my God.
That was great.
Jaden Reed fitting between three guys.
I didn't see
Love
that.
looks so good, and I thought he was. Beginning of the year, he looked horrible, and I thought this team was toast.
First game,
first
2
game,
games,
yeah,
he looked
but then
great.
they were 1-4 at one point. I'm pretty sure they're 5-7 maybe, or 5-6. One of the two.
5-6, I
Or
think.
something like that, right?
5-6.
And as a Steelers fan, I don't like AFC teams in general, so I really hope Green Bay wins. I don't think they're going to pull it out. I think Kansas City is going to win, but just don't be surprised this is close. I really hope this is a
It has
good
to be close. Patrick
Sunday night game.
Mahomes has not been playing his best football.
This
by
is his
a
first
long
game in
shot.
Green Bay, legendary stadium, so, I mean...
Legendary with Aaron Rodgers.
Mahomes is just due to put it together, I think, though.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look, if every year for Mahomes' career, every single one, this defense played like this, they would have probably never lost and won every Super Bowl. I mean, it's the best in his career by so far. It's not even close. And this year, Mahomes hasn't been doing what he's usually been doing, and the receivers have been the worst. Kelce, this is probably Kelce's worst year. He's still been playing great, top tight end in the league, obviously, but he's just
And fantasy.
he's getting old. He's getting hurt, and he even said that he's contemplating retirement soon because of all the injuries
Travis
that have
Kelce's
yes because of all the injuries that have built up. He says that
MetLife
the pain
sucks.
the pain.
I can't stand it.
He says he's in pain, and
Even being at MetLife.
kind of shown this season.
It almost made me throw up being at MetLife.
It's
wild.
disgusting.
Well,
It's just a bunch of metal rings around around a giant building.
I've
That
been
can sit
there many
80,000
times.
people. It's horrible. But yeah, I think Kansas City pulls it out, even with their crap receivers.
Yeah.
They're still gonna be the one of the two. I mean,
we haven't seen them at their best yet, which
not
is
even
unreal.
close.
Unreal. And they're still 7 wins.
8-3.
Yeah.
2 seed.
Moving on to my favorite segment, boom and bust.
Do you say that every time?
It's my favorite segment. I do say it every time. But for my boom this week, a player near and dear to my heart, Travis Etienne, projected his lowest since week 5, 14.16 on Sleeper.
Has he been doing anything?
Still
The last
decent
couple of
amount.
weeks, he hasn't been doing anything. His usage is still really high, though.
How many carries did he get?
His usage is still really high. You could check the carries on that. And he's going against Cincinnati on prime time. And this is just a bright stage for him to be able to shine.
Cincinnati's going to get blown out, too. So.
Yes, so they're going to be running, they're going to be throwing screens, they're
20
going to be getting him
carries.
involved. Trevor Lawrence is also, in the past 2 weeks, the 2 weeks that
Lights out.
the 2 weeks that Travis Etienne hasn't been really doing that well, he's had rushing touchdowns, which is very uncharacteristic for him if you look at his entire season. So I think that Travis Etienne's going to bounce back, have a 20-plus point win, and potentially win you guys your weeks on Monday, which is always very exciting. And for my bust, another running back, a guy who exploded last week against Arizona. He had 38 points. He had 2 touchdowns, 200 yards. but he's going against Cleveland, and we know what that means. It's a great defense. And the Rams' passing game is going to need to step up, and I think that they're going to have to. And if Kyren doesn't get involved in that passing game, he's going to really struggle.
He always does, though, doesn't he?
Last game he had 6 catches. He's been getting receiving touchdowns, but people don't score against the Packers, and I think against the Browns. And I think that Matthew Stafford's going to really struggle, and it's going to make everybody involved. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Higbee, maybe Tutu Atwell, Kyren Williams. I think they're all going to struggle against Cleveland. They may win, but it's going to be a struggle fest.
That's fair.
Yeah, I was going to do Kupp as my bust. We'll find out who it is in a second, just because of that Browns defense.
Yeah,
and
I
was also going to do the ETN pick, but then I saw that you had it. I love that.
Yeah.
So my boom for this week, I like picking running backs a lot. Rachaad White from Tampa Bay. Panthers go to Tampa. It's an ugly game, 2 horrible teams. And the Panthers, I mean, we talked about earlier with Frank Reich, they're in shambles. And I think the Bucs are going to try to establish a run game. Rachaad White has been a touchdown machine this year.
Yeah,
touchdown machine.
He's been really involved in the offense.
This should be a Bucs win. I think it's going to be a double-digit win. And the Panthers are ranked 30th in run D. So I think he gets in at least once, like 100%.
Henry got in twice, 80 yards. So he finally
maybe twice. He could honestly get like 150 yards. That's not like crazy for this game against Carolina. I think he gets at least like maybe 75, 80. Touchdown or 2, he'll get you 20 points, and he's a must start this week. I think he booms.
And the thing is, which also adds to that pick, is the Panthers' pass defense has actually kind of been sneaky good against some teams.
They're like 7th or 5th or something like that.
They've been sneaky good. They have some good corners that have been playing really well, and I think that just is a recipe for the Buccaneers to just keep handing it off, and I like that.
Baker's been playing good too. That always helps.
Of course.
And my bust, the reason I didn't choose Cooper Kupp is because I can't stand this player, and Zaiden knows it. Drake London. Falcons go to New York. Another ugly game, and that disgusting metal ring turf that looks like it's from our high school. I mean, he plays Sauce Gardner. I mean, he can get hurt. Anybody who plays at MetLife, they're busting. I mean, really. But
Tyreek had 25. Tyreek shut me up really quickly at MetLife.
But he plays
Thank
Sauce
God
Gardner.
he did. I mean, actually, it didn't help my fantasy team at all. But
I was looking at my matchup this week, and I'm going against Drake London, and I just already ruled.
Love it.
I already ruled that as under 10. It's a perfect bust. Sauce Gardner is going to be all over him, and he's the type of receiver that Sauce Gardner would do well against. He's not particularly fast or shifty. He's just kind of like a big target.
Just a good fundamental guy.
He's just like a fundamental guy, and Sauce Gardner's going to eat him up.
When I was looking into the deeper statistics of this, well, we know London's not a great wide receiver 1. He's probably a wide receiver 2 on most teams.
Yeah.
They have Kyle Pitts, even though they choose not to use him. And they're just a low-scoring offense.
And they saw Bijan.
What I thought was very interesting, they're first in pass defense, first or second. They're 25th in rush, which is shocking with that D-line and everyone.
This is the Jets?
Yeah, the Jets.
Yeah, I think it's because people are forced
they're gonna
to run against them.
That's what I think. I think they're going to same
But
with
they've
Tampa.
also not even, like Mostert had 100 yards on him. Like people are running over them.
Oh yeah,
and they've been up.
And they have 2 guys to do it. Dolphins honestly do too. I think Algier's a little bit better than Jeff Wilson, but Bijan and Algier, I think they're going to get a crap load of carries.
Yeah,
Don't
and
cuss
they're
on
gonna have a heavy workload.
All right, I like that. Those are 2. We've got 4 good picks today so far. Chase.
All right, my boom. I have AJ Brown. Now this might come as a surprise. He's been low these past 1.8 in week 11 against the Chiefs.
If anyone's due, he's due.
I think that was a fluke game for him. You look at other games where he was, I'm not gonna say forced to step up to the plate, but hard games, like played the Jets, places where you guys said they should play like crap. Mm-hmm. He had 20 against them.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay, hard defense. He had 22 against them. Miami wasn't like that hard of a game for them, but they had to show up and play. He had 30 against them. Dallas 19, and then Buffalo. If you just look at the stat sheet, you're gonna say he didn't have a good game. Mm-hmm. Or he had 5 catches, a touchdown, 14 points. But what did he have? 1 or 2 points in the first half?
Yeah.
Like, he really showed up that second half.
Yeah.
I think this is not going to be a game where they could sit on DeAndre Swift and run the ball
100%.
because the 49ers will be scoring
100%.
a lot. So I think they're going to need to get A.J. Brown the ball.
Yeah.
So I think he's gonna have a solid game.
Yeah, and like we've said with like Hurts and the Eagles in general, they kind of seem to like be taking a while to heat up, and AJ Brown's just always that guy who when Hurts needs to get going, that's exactly who he targets. But the thing that I mentioned to you early on this week when I knew AJ Brown was going to be your bust is Charvarius Ward. I mean, that's his name, right?
Yes.
Yes. I got a weird look. He has been playing phenomenal all season, and he held DK Metcalf to 3 catches for 30 yards.
DK Metcalf is not AJ Brown, though. You could say they're similar type of
receivers
just because they're so massive.
But early on in their career, and still, honestly, they're compared to each other. They're friends. They talk all the time. They have a very similar stature. And
just big as hell.
Yes, and Charvarius Ward proved that he can handle him really well. Like there was a lot of close.
AJ Brown was way better than DK.
I just promise you there'll be a pass interference call on him.
That's fair, but it's not fantasy points. It's not fantasy points. I like that someone's going to need to step up on Philly, and I think that guy this week is going to be Devonta Smith.
I mean, I'm excited for that game. I really am.
All right, now to my bust. This guy has made me angry. Jesus, angry. Joe Mixon, what a waste of a third-round pick. You're ruining my team. I mean,
he had a few when Burrow was cooking. He had a few good weeks.
Sorry.
21, 17, and then he hasn't cracked 15. Just not a and all right. So I looked at him. I was like, Joe Burrow out. Maybe Zach Taylor would run the ball. No, no, he's not going to.
You'd
all right?
think.
This quarterback that they have in, I can safely say he's horrible. And they gave Joe Mixon the ball 8 times. He's the lead rusher in the AFC North.
Who did they play last week?
Steelers. They had 25 rushers against the Steelers.
Like, give him the ball. He had 8 rushes.
Total.
I mean, the O-line is not helping him with. I mean, I don't know if there's a stat. Every time I turn the TV on, he rushes for negative yards.
All his points.
He had 8 points, but he had a catch for 30 yards.
Yeah, it was on the final drive. It was like 45.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. I was like, Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon had a big play. Oh, he still has 8 points. Like he's not gonna do good.
And Jamar Chase too. 80% of his points came off tipped passes.
Yeah, and I mean they're gonna be losing to Jacksonville. Let's get that straight. So Zach Taylor, I don't know if he'll call one run play in this game. It would be surprising.
He's calling the game against his brother. I'm sorry. One of you guys say it for me.
But I do think that they could potentially I mean, every team watches film on their own games, obviously. But I think they could recognize that as a point of weakness that they need to get going, and maybe they could use Joe Mixon to open up the run game and open up the pass game, hopefully.
This was his, surprisingly, rookie QB in there. He had his lowest carries of the season. And it wasn't like the Steelers were blowing them out. Like it was
pretty close the whole time.
It was most of the time it was a game.
It was one possession game the entire time.
And he's Jesus, 16. I mean, it's just I have to start him because my team is so bad. But I mean, he's projected 10.
Yeah.
Like don't expect anything out of him.
Yeah. This game is going to be a big telltale for the Bengals' season. Looking forward, fantasy-wise. I mean, pretty much it's safe to say their season playoff-wise is over.
I think Joe Mixon can get a touchdown and still have 9 points.
Yeah, if they don't use him a lot this game, it's going to be really brutal starting him every week for the rest of the season.
I knew I should have traded him when he got 21.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening to yet another episode. This is our 4th one. Trying to get better and better each time. And
might have a guest on in a little bit.
Might have a guest on soon. Keep tuning in and have a great football watching experience this Thursday, this Sunday, this Monday. And we hope to see you guys next week. See you later. We might have to get you a.
I know I didn't do anything.
We might have to get.